Hey, my beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel, Supreme Medium Diviner. Today, we're going to talk about how you were born with your power already, like already intact. And I'm going to tell you how you find this power. This video is going to benefit a lot of my friends who are coming out of Christianity. You understand soul retrieval now. You've gotten your soul back, but something is still missing, that power. You need to know all about your power. And this is also going to explain why it is so important, why I put this out there so much that you must start ancestral worship as of yesterday. Like, it's very imperative that you do ancestral worship. You cannot skip this step. All right, so before we get started, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe by hitting that bell and being notified when I drop a video. Also, if you feel compelled, please like, comment, and share. Please beware of scammers. I do not have WhatsApp. I do not reach out to anyone. You can book my services on my website. There's a clickable link in my bio. You can also see my website in the description on this video. You can also go to your web browser, such as Google, and type in Supreme Medium Diviner, the same name as my YouTube channel, and my website will come up on the first page, if not the first search. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So, last night it was on me while I was lying in bed to give you guys a story time about when I was presented with my test in the underworld. And I was 16 years old. And at that time, all I knew is that I had gifts. I knew I could go into the spiritual realm. But I was like in Christianity when I hit middle school. And we were told that's not something that we do, that we talk about. Now, mind you, I still was around my family, and my gift is hereditary. So my family, they would talk of these things. So, it was still in me, but I was taught at that age around 13, we don't do those things, right? So, with that being said, I say that to say that whatever is for me did not stop presenting itself to me, right? That's one way when you can tell that something is in you and not on you. So if you guys have not seen that short, just to give you a quick summary, I was 16 years old when I was taken to the underworld. And the underworld is not hell. The underworld is a place where judgment takes place. So everybody is not to be judged, but you have people who have certain jobs to do when they come out of the spiritual realm. And they have those jobs to do for a reason, right? And so they have to go through the underworld when their vessel, when they leave their vessel, when they die, because they have to be judged to see if they did what they're supposed to do. They are held to a higher regard. All right. So when I was 16, I was first presented with the underworld. And this was by far at that time, the most scariest experience that I ever had in my life of 16 years, because they met me at the church. That's where we had to convene, at the church. And when I tell you, the person that's over the underworld, he is not to be messed with. At the moment, I can't tell you his name. I can still see him, and he is not to be messed with. He has this fierceness about him that, just looking at him is going to make you tremble. You understand what I'm saying? And he sat on a throne. And although I was afraid because I didn't understand it, I wouldn't be afraid now. But I remember that fear at 16. I didn't have a problem with being there. I was more curious, than fearful. And he was like, I brung you here because you need to take a test. And he was like, I need you to spell 3 names for me. And the names were so easy peasy, y'all. They were like 3-letter words that you would learn in like kindergarten or first grade. And he gave me the words, and I'm like, okay, I got it. So let's go. So he started with the first word, I got it right. The second word, I got it right. The third word, I spelled it. Now, To me, I thought I got it right. He said, "No, you were wrong." And immediately when he said I was wrong, my spirit knew trouble was coming. I tried to get away. When he said I was wrong, I didn't give him a chance. I turned around, and before I could even turn around, he literally grabbed me around my neck. And I saw my life flash before my eyes. The people that I knew, my parents, friends, anything that I had experienced up until that age flashed before me. And I woke up. So, what can I tell you about the underworld? So the underworld, there is fire. It's complete darkness, and you have to go through different things in the underworld to get through. Right? It's not scary, but let's just be real. It is what it is. Right? It's imperative that you go through the underworld, because if you are held in high regard and you have a certain job to do, that's where that information is held. So the underworld is talked a lot about in ancient Egyptian culture. Okay. So you got to understand that. Why am I bringing this up? Because any origin of religion or doctrine, it comes from ancient Egypt. The Bible has a whole timeline that they do not have in there, but they have references to ancient Egypt. But if you have never studied ancient Egypt, you don't know that's what they're talking about. That's who they're talking about when they reference this deity from ancient Egypt or this pharaoh from ancient Egypt, right? So that's the origin of everything. Do I agree with everything in ancient Egyptian culture? No, I do not agree with everything in ancient Egyptian culture. But I will tell you that the things that are spoken of are real things when it comes to let's talk about the underworld or the spiritual realm. Okay, I don't agree with all their practices, but I do agree with their view on the spiritual world realm in the underworld. So let's fast forward to remember what I just told you about my trip to the underworld. I have never been to the underworld again. That was my first time, and I haven't been since, right? I didn't really understand that dream until I hit like the age of 40. And that's when I was like, okay, I always knew I wanted to use my gifts, but I knew that I had a particular job to do. And let's remember what I said about the names. Let's go into Christianity. So, God, a lot of y'all ask me questions about God. God exists only by name. Um, in ancient times when Christianity first hit the scene, with the Ethiopians, Egyptians, Gnostics, when it first hit the scene, right? God was thought of as this like just this essence. You understand what I'm saying? When it was introduced to this culture, they were very intrigued because they were like, we got power, we got magic. What makes this God so above everything, right? And they wanted a taste of that. So that's how Christianity kind of got in ancient Egypt. They wanted a taste of that. They wanted to know why. Like, they believed that this essence created magic, but like, why is this essence magic more powerful than our magic that we already have, right? So God only existed by name. It wasn't until the doctrine was introduced of the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, which are three names: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. This is a doctrine that came about. And whoever created this doctrine believed in magic too, because when you put it all together, they believed that this essence had magic. They just didn't want it to be more powerful than them, or they wanted to have that power. They wanted to be equal. So it's all magic. So they say they said, well, if you say this name, then it's power. It gives power, right? So they started introducing this in the Christian doctrine. And let's fast forward over to this times we always saying the name, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So it does give it power. But guess what though? It does nothing for you because that's not your name. You see where I'm going with this? That's not none of your names. In the Bible and in this doctrine early on, before it even came over here, they instructed ancient Egyptians and Ethiopians, the culture, well, you know that God, He has many names, many, many, many names. And we wrote them all down. And if you say these names and you know these names, you can have His power. You can be His equal. So, okay, so they're like, okay, we'll go with it. They weren't that trusting though, because they informed them that, we'll go with it, but we have our own magicians. We have our own magic. We still want to use that. They were more curious to know, like, how can you be more powerful? And they was like, we're just not buying it. We're not buying it. So what happened is that they bring it over to a society that they can trick, because see, they were bringing this over to people who had already discovered their power. And how do you know that ancient Egyptians had already discovered their power? No matter how washed out everything got through the different dynasties and up until now, there's one thing that still remains that ancient Egypt focuses on, that Christianity does not. And this is even with the name Allah. They even understand that there is magic in that name. And they understand that it's been twisted to trick you. So ancient Egypt has so many deities, right? The deities match something that you can physically see. Let me give you an example. The god Ra is the sun god. If you go outside, you can see the sun. Thoth is over the moon. When you go outside, you can see the moon. Okay? They are connected with something that you can physically see. The name gives it power, and then they also give characteristics of each thing that you can see, and it has power. Okay? They have never deviated from that whatsoever. They personified what you can actually see, but they tell you who that personification represents. Okay? All right? Christianity gives you something, a name, three names, and you never have seen anything that goes with those names. They tell you it just is. You are just to believe. And they're not lying. God only exists as a name. There's no personification. The only thing that it has are the other three names. But other than that, it's nothing. So how is this so powerful? It's powerful because you utter it. You say it in your prayers. You say it in the rituals. So when you're saying it, guess what? It's taking from your power. Why is it taking from your power that you already have? Because you're giving it to them. So where is your power coming from? Your name. Your name. You need to know your name, your names. How do you know your names? By doing ancestral worship. When you do ancestral worship, you learn your lineage, who you came from, who they were. I don't care what they did, good, bad. That's your power. You utter your ancestors' names. You utter your name. When you start doing soul retrieval and you get your soul back and you open yourself up to do energy work, you see three parts of you and they look just like you. You see your past, your present, and your future. All right? They all three have a name. Okay? And you need to find out those names. You need to find out who are they to you. Okay? Which they are you, but you know what I'm saying. Like, who though? What was I? What am I? Who am I going to be? You understand? But you can't do that if you're saying somebody else's name. And they know that. So, therefore, you're losing all your magic. You're giving it to them. This is what they call magic in the church. This is all magic, y'all. It's all magic. You have your own magic. It's within your lineage. It's within those names. So, in the Bible, it says, oh, you can get into heaven if you know my name. It also tells you in the Bible and Revelations, you have a name. So see, here's the thing. They give you the truth, but then they cloud it up with what they're saying that you have to do, right? That's the trickery. That's the gag. You understand what I'm saying? That's how they get themselves out of it, twisted thinking. So what that translates to is that when you learn these names, when you open yourself up, you have done your ancestral worship. You're doing your ancestral worship. You know your lineage. You're going to know your path. You're going to hear your call. So when you die and you get to the astral, you know self. You know your names. You know their names. You know your ancestors. You're going to see them and nothing can stop you. You understand what I'm saying? So everyone may not be judged, but everyone must know their name. That means you must know your spirit, you must know your soul, and you must know your physical body. Okay? That's imperative. Like you can't get around that. So, if you have not started ancestral worship, it is imperative that you start as of yesterday, like I said. So, I was giving my task. I was showing my task at 16 years old. So, the things that I'm doing right now, the very moment that I'm talking to you right now, this is my job. Everything that I give you guys has been given to me to do in instructions. So it's meant to be. It's my destiny. You understand what I'm saying? And I'll be damned if I go back to the underworld and be punished. You understand what I'm saying? So, for all my fellow people, and I've spoken to some of you guys who have a similar job as I or do the same thing exactly, please make sure that you're elevating, that you're getting those names, and that you're doing the work. Everybody should be doing their work, but those that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to assisting the soul. Like, that's serious business. But know your name. Know your name. Stop it. Stop it. Stop saying that Trinity. That's the only reason why it has power. That's the only reason. Without everybody else uttering it, it was just God. So the magic is you saying the name and it taking your power. So that's the magic. So I hope this video gave you guys some clarity. I got a live coming Sunday and I've been trying to think of what I'm going to do it on. And so I think I'm going to do it on the whole Easter thing. And this is not to give like any power to the ritual. This is to break it down so we can kind of understand what's going on, because I did a video I think it was Saturday, explaining about how Jesus only has 360 or 365 days to live, right? We're going to dive deep into it on Sunday on this live. And I'm also going to explain to you the cult of the Virgin Mary, okay? Because I told you I was going to give you some more information on Mary. Mary is all magic when it comes to Mary. And I'm going to find out, I'm finding out why they used Mary. So I'm going to give you guys the information too. So this live is going to break down Easter and what we need to do going forward to kind of stop the souls being taken so we can stop Easter. Okay, so that's what that live is going to be about. So I enjoyed talking to you guys. I hope you understand it. And again, if you feel compelled, like, comment, and share this video. And until next time, bye.